The market has to deal with what it is trying to sort out in terms of China and oil. And they're interrelated. And by the way, it's not just oil, it's commodities. And by the way, it's all emerging markets are kind of feeding off each other with a problem. It's not hitting the U.S. So will the market have to go through another couple of weeks of gyrations? I expect. I don't think it's going to be simple. I think it could be dramatic. When you look at the fundamentals of what it means, it doesn't compute. If you take a China, which is sometimes half of global growth, that's not really the number you care about. It's how much are they of imports? 9%. If we were to stop importing anything, exporting anything to China, 1 year's worth of growth in our housing industry would offset it. So it's really much more insulated now. We're in a different world than we were 5, 6, 10 years ago when the emerging markets were the driver. Now we're the driver, and to some extent, slowly, the Europeans are getting their machines running.
So you believe the whole market is oversold?
I think the U.S. market is oversold for sure.
But by how much?
Probably by 10%. If it goes down another 10%.
If it goes down another 10%, it's by 10%. So you're saying right now that's flat for now.
There's no reason for this to have done this much damage. It's an overreaction. An overreaction can go on and probably will for a while, but it's oversold.
Okay, but let me make the argument that if you look at American corporations right now, for the most part, profits are not growing at a rapid clip. To the extent that you have seen it,
Correct.
It's coming from cuts. We have buybacks, which have helped EPS. There's been all sorts of machinations that have taken place, but actual real growth has been hard to come by.
Correct, because we're not growing like we used to. The simplest thing to look at that stabilizes my brain is when you look at our growth rate post-recessions over the last 4 or 5 recessions. And every time coming out, we drop to a lower growth rate. And we used to be a 4, and now we're a 2, barely. Okay, so that's what it is. That's better than 0. And if you can get yield, and your expectations aren't to go back to the 80s or the 90s in terms of great returns, this is a perfectly sensible market to be trying to buy into. Yeah, you avoid the falling knife until it's finally hit the ground. But I don't think...
But the market prices make sense to you, even if at a 2% growth rate?
Yeah, I think they do, because you don't have much inflation.
Let me ask you a different question.
You know, he's a banking expert.
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
a full-on banking expert. He's like at Sandler O'Neill is a banking.
Well, let me give you another.
Are you wearing the market strategist hat now at Sandler O'Neill?
I'll wear any hat they'll give me.
Right?
Let me give you another data point, because when Larry's here, he's got so much information, right? The only thing I can give you is the fact that I get to see, on average, a dozen banks a quarter in their home market, wherever they are, whatever's going on in the U.S. economy. You get to see it through their eyes. There's not been one bank in a year that I've talked to that's complained about the economy, unless I go to Midland or Odessa or some corner of North Dakota. They don't see it. They're not reacting to it. They listen to what they hear, and they say, I don't get it. It's an amazing disconnect.